So, current threats. Current threats come from all different types of ways. Hackers try to hack you to get your information to sell it. Insider threats, whether being malicious on purpose or being an accident. Somebody internally usually clicks on something. Hackers reach you through phishing. They actually literally send thousands of email, and out of those thousands and thousands of email, only 0.001% will click on it, and that's good enough for them. And then compliance. Regulations is forcing some organizations to be more compliant when it comes to cybersecurity. So they come in different ways. There's different types of threats. I would like to then discuss and to explain to you why we need additional tools to combat those cyber threats. So traditional security solutions cannot compete with modern malware attacks against small and medium-sized businesses anymore. As a matter of fact, the New York Times had a 4-month-long cyber attack campaign done against them. The company's antivirus software missed 44 of the 45 pieces of malware that got installed by attackers on the network. Antivirus is no longer enough. It doesn't do much anymore, and it doesn't do us justice, and it's not enough to really protect our environment. Before, basic security was strictly a firewall, your antivirus, anti-malware, and that's it, you're secure. And that's not the case. So we'll talk a little bit about the anatomy of an attack. What happens? How does somebody get access to your data? Why do they want to get access to your data? So the first thing an attacker is going to do is scan your firewall to see if there is any obvious holes that can exploit. So they send a probe out, basically, that will scan that firewall. Your firewall, hopefully, your firewall is managed properly and that exploits come up empty. Most compliance standards require that the firewall be actively managed and that the firewall settings be reviewed at least semi-annually. Something to be aware of. That HIPAA and PCI, now they require a managed firewall. The next thing the attacker will try to do is take advantage of your email system internally, if you have one internally. If you do, let's eliminate that and take it to the cloud. It's an essentially a wide open corridor into your network. If they can get one of your employees to click on a link or download a file, they have a foothold. In order to prevent this, most companies use a spam filter and antivirus, but those systems are based on blacklists. So they that attacker has to be on your list for those tools to work, which requires that attack that has been seen before. Since threats can mutate faster than the signature and blacklist can be updated, this is now less than an ideal situation. That's why we say antivirus is now dead. It's no longer enough. So once a piece of malware is then installed and onto your network, they can make configuration. The attacker makes configuration changes that allows them access to your domain controller, where they can create a fake account or a new user account, or possibly modify privileges and compromise this existing account. From there, it's as simple as installing a backdoor, because they don't want to have to use the front door every time to gain access. And once they have access, what they want from you truly is your data, because they do sell your data. And that's what your data is worth. Your data is worth dollars, especially if you have credit card info or protected health information or social security numbers or a slew of other things. That's what they want. They want your data to sell it. They also sometimes want to use your environment as a repository for things they should not be sharing. In other words, porn or terrorism or what have you. A lot of hackers will access your router or your network and your servers and put their files that are going to be shared across the entire internet on your devices. So that way they're not responsible. You are, and they're sharing all that, utilizing your hard drive space, your processor, and your internet service provider to share that among the world. At the end of the day, you're responsible for that. So that's what a hacker does. Let's not forget ransomware attack that happened at ECMC. Ransomware is growing big time. At ECMC, they got, and we'll explain ransomware in a second, but ACMC got hit with this attack, and it cost them so far $11 million. It's serious. Everybody in our area got hit. Ransomware is a lot more rampant than people think. You know, it's not going to happen to me. It will. If it didn't happen yet, you're lucky, but that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Ransomware attacks grew 250% in 2017. It's because it's a billion-dollar business. It's a business. What they do is they hijack your data. You double-click on one of your files, and what happens is it tells you that you have to pay a ransom for you to be able to access those files. They encrypt those files, and they're the only one with a decryption key. 91% of all cyber attacks start with a phishing email. Think about that. 91% of all attacks start with somebody clicking on something they were not supposed to, coming through an email. That's a very high statistics. And without training and without really guiding people on what to click on, what to look for, it becomes an issue. So I put some examples here on phishing emails. This is an email that came from a hacker, but it looks like it's coming from the IRS. And if we look at it, you'll notice a few mistakes here. I'll leave it up for a second, but you'll notice that you got to check the sender. You know, the email address can't be from Kaspersky.com. Verify the senders who they say they are. Notice some bad grammar and spelling, because they're really not going to make any mistakes in that if they're really the IRS. But also remember that the IRS does not send emails. They send certified mail. Any suspicious link, if you hover over a link, it will tell you where it's sending you. So if it's not sending you to irs.gov, that's obviously not a link you want to click on. Just some examples. So look out for some emails that may be very threatening. I've put in a couple more. iTunes Store email. Thank you for buying whatever. Click here to view, or click here for a refund, or we charged you this on accident. Click here so that we can charge back. These are all fake. They just want you to click on a link. That's the idea here. The idea is for you to click on one link, and it's all they need as an okay from somebody internally to bypass any other security that we have in place, like Firewall, what have you, to say, I allow these people to come in. And that's what happens. So you got to be aware of what you're clicking on. Here's another UPS one. Hey, the following regarding your package delivery, here's your tracking number. Most people just click on the tracking number even if they didn't buy anything. The idea is that it's about emotion. How can an email be emotional enough to get you to click on it? If you're aware of the risk, if you know what to look for, we reduce that risk quite a bit. That's one I have. That's a couple I have for you. One's from Wells Fargo. Please log into this account. It could be from Facebook. It could be from anywhere. Log into this account because we're doing some security verification because unusual number of invalid login attempts happened on your account. So log in here, and when you click on login, it's not really their website. It's the hacker's website that looks exactly like theirs, feels like theirs, so that you could enter your username and password, and now they have that information to access your data. Or as simple as, good morning, hope you had a good weekend. Do you have a PDF copies of your employee's W-2? Something as simple as that could be a phishing email as well. So what do you do when come across a phishing email? Check with your company or person who sent it to you before clicking on any link. So if it's coming from the owner or HR department or somebody else in your company, make sure it's them if it looks suspicious. And send the email to us for us to check on there for you if we're your IT provider. If we're not, you should use us, and then we'll check those for you. So what do they do when they get all this data? I mean, now they have your data. Now what? Well, what they do is, let's talk about the dark web. The dark web is accessible through specialized software. It's part of the World Wide Web, but we use what we call the surface web. And underneath the surface web, there's the deep web, which is the dark web, as deep as you're gonna go. It's 500 times larger than our regular web, our surface web. There's so much information on it because, as I said right here before, it's about anonymous communication. People don't know who they're talking to. It's all by IP. It's all masked. It's all obscure internet traffic. And what happens in the dark web is that you could sell illegal activity. So here's, this is called sheep. This is part of the dark web. I went on and took some images so that I can show you what you could buy. Here's some formaldehyde, if you want to kill somebody. Here's some credit cards with name, address, phone number, CVV, expiration date, and they're working, right? Here's a hacker's black book to teach people how to become hackers. And here's even additional, bear with me, let me go back to where we were. Here we go. This is where we were. Even things that are other medicine or other thing like that are available for you to buy on the dark web. So some cost of your personal information, your online banking information between $1,000 to $2,000 depending on how much money you have. Some credit cards vary in price between $1,000 to $2,000. Again, depending if they're real. Your Social Security, your state ID, your passport number, your ID number. Because if they have your name, your ID number, they can create a fake driver's license and use it. They steal your information and sell it. And 1 in 5 small business owners and small medium-sized businesses who paid the ransom never got their data back. So it's just because you paid the ransom doesn't mean it's going to work for you. You just got to be aware of the risk that is now being bombarded. People talk about Russian hackers. It's a lot more than that. Everybody in the world tried to attack our country. We're the largest, the biggest, the most secure, but also have a lot of small, medium-sized businesses that have the resources to be online and be available with all their data available. And a lot of the SMBs don't utilize best practices. They're low-hanging fruits. So we're trying to educate everybody on what to do. You know, enough is enough with these hackers. Enough is enough with being the low-hanging fruit that people can come and take advantage of. We're here to stop this. So how do you protect your company from cyber threats? What do you do to make sure that you're compliant, not only compliant, but you're not that low-hanging fruit that we talk about? So in order to create this and to really dive deeper through our training and certification, what have you, we went back to the National Institute of Standards and Technology. This institute is part of the U.S. Department of Commerce, and they partnered with the SANS Institute and the Center for Internet Security and came up with what they call the 20 critical security controls. These are controls, and each control has many measures underneath it that talks about every aspect of cybersecurity to make you as proactive as possible. This changes yearly, so you got to stay on top of it. We have to stay on top of it for you to make sure that we have the right tools in place to protect us against the new threats. The old tools we use is not enough. We needed new tools, new applications, new pieces of software, new servers to help us combat those threats. So here's the list that they came up with. One is basic CIS control. These are basic security. You need to know inventory of your hardware, inventory of your software. You need to do vulnerability scanning to know what your issues are. You need to secure and configure your hardware and software and mobile devices, and control any administrative privileges and maintain and monitor your logs. But that's basic security. They drove deeper into email and protection, malware defense, boundary defense. I can go on and on. This training is not about what the 20 controls are, but we wanted to dive deeper a little bit. The last piece is organizational controls. These are not tools. These are actually procedures, policies and procedures you should have in place to make sure you know what to do if there is an issue. So to dive deeper a little bit on those controls, the idea behind them is to identify, respond, and protect. You guys see MVP here in the corner. So I'll take you through 3 of the controls. Number 1, this is the first control. You see the control itself, and you see the measures that come under the control. I mean, the control says inventory and control of hardware assets. That could be anything. It could be, as you know, I want to count every machine and server that I have. But it tells you how to do it. It tells you to utilize an active discovery tool, not a manual tool. It tells you a passive discovery tool to identify devices connected to your organization's network and automatically update the asset inventory. It tells you to use a dynamic host configuration protocol. It utilizes port-level access control, use client certificates and authenticated hardware assets. It tells you what you will need to identify, respond, and protect on that control. So we looked at this control. We looked at all controls. This is another one, a more deeper control, which says limit and control of network ports, protocol, and services. It wants you to identify them by associated and active port, service, and protocol and hardware assets. In other words, it wants to know automatically a system in place to let us know what's going on, what's open, what's not open, what is the risk, what is the vulnerability, what is happening now. In other words, what tool can we use now to let us know if something happening instead of being reactive and waiting till the virus actually take hold. What if we can stop the virus in the middle of it being executed? That's the idea here. The idea is to be more proactive, to protect you, to detect, identify, and protect. Really, I'll go back to this 3. The last piece, which is if you notice, they don't have a security function, but they are to implement a security awareness and training program. Because 91% of all attacks happen because somebody clicked on something. Well, if that's the case, let's train them not to click on something that is malicious. Let's train them on what to look for, to be more aware, to perform, and we will perform a skills gap analysis to understand the skills and behavior of your workforce. We'll deliver training, create a security awareness program. That's what they're talking about. So all 20 controls makes us a lot more efficient and a lot better at cybersecurity in general. We took those controls, we went line by line in every measure, and we came up with the tools, and we put them together in a solution that we call Total Secure. All those changes happen because of compliance. Compliance forces the hand for us to be able to look at what's basic security and what is advanced compliance security. So we came up with this sheet. The sheet is called the MVP Total Secure, above and beyond items that is beyond basic security. And I'll dive deeper into each one of those little pieces. So number 1 is an audit, a security assessment. The first thing we recommend you doing is find out what you have, find out what you don't have, and what we need to do to fix it. An audit allows us to come in, do an assessment of not only your network infrastructure, but your security on that network infrastructure, and to create with a work plan, an action plan on what's not secured enough, what can be to make it more secure, and what issues you have. And the next thing we always say is your data is the most important piece, so make sure you have a solid backup, disaster recovery, and business continuity solution. It's important to not only back up your data, but if you're down, to be able to continue to work while we fix the issue. It's important to have a disaster recovery and business continuity, so in case of issues, you can continue to work. And obviously, we could go through that with you guys and tell you what you have and what you don't have. But that's something important, because if you do get a ransomware, a good backup and disaster recovery solution can allow you not to pay that ransom and restore from it. Next, after that, we recommend a strong firewall. So if you think about it this way, your data is most important. Make sure it's backed up. But also make sure that your front door is closed. So next generation firewalls, not your traditional firewall that people get, low-end firewall, only block ports. Hackers now have tools to go through that in about 2 to 3 minutes. You need the next generation firewall that has tools and application built into them that's called the intrusion prevention system. It lets us know what happened before it happens. It alerts us of hacks coming in. It inspects every packet coming in and out. Your firewall is important, but make sure you have the right firewall with the right application, security application loaded in it. And because a lot of the issues come through spam, through email, make sure you have a strong spam protection in place. Something that scans every email, not only for is it an email you should get, but also something that tells you if it has a virus in it, if it should be blocked. Have that capability available. And everything that you do internally should be inspected from an outside engine. We use Cisco's Umbrella software. It's a web gateway security. It becomes your DNS server, your domain name services server. So when you type in google.com, DNS gives you the IP that sends you to Google.com for Google to open up. A web gateway security service allows you to do that, but inspects everything going in and out outside your network before your firewall, so that it protects you from unidentified attacks coming into your network. Then computer updates. That's something that we see all the time. Your computer updates needs to be done. They need to be done on a regular basis. They need to be done on a daily basis, really. And not only your operating system updates, because everybody sometimes tells, well, you know, Microsoft does the updates, and I make sure that I click OK and go ahead and install it. There's usually about 150 different applications on your machine that also needs update. Adobe, Flash, you know, PDF, Silverlight. I can go on and on. GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar, all these different applications need to be updated as well. Because what hackers do is hackers are lazy. And some of them are not very smart. Some of them are brilliant, unfortunately, but some of them are not very smart. And what they do is they wait for these companies to release their patch updates. And they say, here's a patch, because this patch fixes this vulnerability, and they can use this vulnerability to gain access this way. Hackers get that list, and they are hoping you did not do the patch, and you have that vulnerability. And now they have a blueprint to be able to log in to your environment. So we do updates, but we also want to push through a new tool, a new piece of software that we now are going to be able to provide for our clients to be able to push on updates 150 different applications at the same time. That makes you a lot more secure and makes us a lot more efficient. That's why we're getting additional tools. We talked about security awareness. 95% of all data breaches, 91% was through spam and somebody clicking, but 95% of all data breaches are due to human error. Training is important. Security awareness training needs to be done. We highly recommend it to everybody. We use actually a tool, a portal called PII Protect, and it allows you to have a training module that your employees go through. We actually will send fake phishing emails to see who's going to click on it, who bit, who didn't bite, and why did they bite it. And we give them a test and an exam at the end of the training module so that we know that they understood. And it gives you a score of the risk of that employee. Are they a high risk, a low risk, whatever it may be. This is what the portal looks like. Highly recommend that people with our gold package will have this available for them. That's the idea here. Let's make your employees better at what they do. Next is a dark web research. So after people get hacked, you guys all heard about the Target hack or the Home Depot hack, and hundreds of thousands of people have lost their data. What happens with that data? I mean, hackers use it, but then after they use it, they put it out on the dark web, and they sell it through the dark web. We actually now have a tool to allow us to search the dark web to see if your data is on the dark web available for sale. And then we can do something about it and remove you from that being in that environment. We look at your domain, we look at your email address, and make sure you're secure. Again, another tool we invested in to make you more secure. Next is password management. I mean, let's face it, hackers get access because they either guess your password or are able to enter into your environment by tricking you into giving them their password, or one of your employees giving them their password one way or another. So there's a lot of password tools out there. We recommend using a password phrase, so anything over 14 characters is good. It could be a phrase like, I love to go to the beach on a Monday. That's one big phrase, and it makes it a lot more secure that way. But, you know, you usually have 50 to 60 different passwords that you have to remember. A password management system, you only have to remember one password. It sits on your mobile device. It sits on your PC or Mac. And any website, application, anything that you're using that requires a password will automatically be populated with that information through that password manager. Again, all you have to do is remember one password. As a matter of fact, in the mobile device, if you go to it, a little thing pops up that says passwords now. I click on it, and it'll authenticate me and put the password in there for me automatically. It's very handy, and it's a tool we highly recommend because it secures you. You only have to remember one password. It makes it easier. but then it can generate very high-level encrypted passwords that are very hard to figure out automatically for you. You don't even have to know what it is to be able to do that. Since we talk about encryption, let's talk about encryption. Encryption is very important. We push that across the board. We really want every single hard drive to be encrypted. There's two different types of encryption: full disk encryption and file encryption. Full disk encryption is basically we encrypt the entire hard drive. That's at a minimum what you should do on every single device, especially if those devices travel with you. So your laptop, for instance, if you have any data that you want to make sure is secure and you use a laptop that you travel with, make sure that laptop is encrypted. That way, if you ever lose that laptop, they only gained a piece of hardware. Because your full disk is encrypted, they cannot get any of the data off of it. You don't have to worry about it. You have full disk encryption. It's impossible for them to be able to get your data out. The difference between a full disk encryption and a file encryption is we can actually encrypt files as well, above and beyond the full disk encryption. So that way, people internally to your organization can use a USB drive and put it in between machines and copy files back and forth, or put it on a network and share files back and forth. But if they copy file to a USB drive and they take that file to their home machine or their new job and they want to take all your data with them, well, guess what? Because we use file encryption, that data cannot be used because they don't have a decryption key. We put a decryption on all your local machines so that internally it feels like there is no security, that you could copy and work as fast as you want to work, but externally you cannot take that data out. You've got to think about security and the importance of your data. You know you got to trust your employees, but there's always a few bad apples in there, and you got to make sure that you're secure and protected. Next is mobile device management, more mobile device security. It's important to have a true mobile device security appliance managing all your mobile device if you have any data on your mobile device that you don't want shared. But if you do banking on your mobile device, if you have your email from your work email on your mobile device, we recommend it to have it. As a matter of fact, if you have it on your mobile device, HIPAA and PCI both require it to have a mobile device management implemented. And what it does is basically monitors your mobile device. We cannot see your data through it. We can't see personal data, but we can selective wipe some of the data on those devices. So if your employee is no longer part of your organization and they want to, they leave and they're taking that mobile device with them, and that mobile device belongs to them, we can go in and remove only your email, only your contacts, only the files that you have in there. We do selective wipe. We can geo-track where that phone is if it ever gets stolen. We could auto-wipe the entire phone remotely. And there's a lot of other cool things we could do with it. For instance, one of our clients does not want his employees to be able to take pictures in their clean room. Well, with mobile device management, we're able to eliminate, as soon as they walk through that facility, that camera icon disappears off their mobile device. When they walk out, the camera icon reappears. So we have a lot of capabilities with mobile device management that you should think of. And any place that you have data that needs to be secured, we recommend multi-factor authentication. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt, but you've probably used it already. So when you log in to a device, for instance, your VPN or to your remote desktop server or whatever it may be, not only do we want you to put a username and password, we want you to use multi-factor authentication, which means that on your mobile device, you're going to have an application that's going to give you a code. That code changes every 20 seconds, and you have 20 seconds to enter that code into your username after the username and password field to be able to have access into wherever you get access to. That truly eliminates the hacker's capability of being able to do anything. With multi-factor authentication, the code changes so rapidly, hackers have no time to try to break through it. It has not been broken yet, touching wood, because hackers surprise us every day. So wanted to say that it's very important to have. Now, the next couple of products are deeper products. This is what I call compliance. This is what I call it. This is what is required to be to hit certain compliance levels. The first one is an advanced threat protection or advanced endpoint security. It's like an antivirus. You still will have your regular antivirus, but this is antivirus on steroids, if you will. This application, and I'm going to show you a quick demo of it. It's about 3 minutes long. This application is an application that that acts as antivirus but does not use any definition. It looks at, it's called a multi-vector antivirus. It looks at all three vectors, and it makes sure that it looks at how how a piece of application reacts, and it says, hey, this is reacting like a virus. Maybe I should be more aware of this. They are so confident in that technology, and we've been using it, and it's been a lifesaver, that they back it up with a Lloyd's of London insurance policy guaranteeing $1 million in ransomware protection. $1 million in ransomware protection through an application that acts as your antivirus. Something very important to be aware of, and something important to know that you have that capability. I'm going to run a quick demo for us now, so bear with me while it runs, and we'll come back to it.
So Untitled Malware is back again. It is usually infecting devices using a malicious Word document with macro, dropping pony, malicious pony, or Zeus. For this demo, I'm using a malicious file on a device installed with SentinelOne agent. You can see that it's actually an image asking you to enable the content. Once you enable the content, CNC server is being accessed, and the malicious code is start running. In this case of SentinelOne, I've run that on the detect mode, so I allow it to run. As you can see, it was immediately detected. So let's roll it back, returning the device to its pre-infected state. Also, I'll resolve that in order to keep my dashboard clean.
So, to explain to a bit what this demo was all about, this gentleman who was showing us the demo put in a malicious Word document on the desktop. That Word document, he allowed it to run, so if I actually let him running, he's going to open up all the files and show us that the files have been encrypted. So, because of that, SentinelOne is allowed then to be able to allow the malware to execute. It's fileless, but then it was able to allow us to roll back right before the malware happened. And that's the beauty of it. It knows when an attack happened. It knows the point where it happened. We don't have to guess about that anymore. Before we have to wipe the machine clean, if you will, reformat it, and start fresh after we try to find the machine that have the issue. Now with new tools, we know exactly which machine it is. Click one button. We don't have to format it, reload your applications on it, put your data back on it. With one click, we take you back to where you were right before you start working. It took a minute, as you could see in the demo, and that's really how long it takes. This tool, as an anti-ransomware tool, as an antivirus tool, is making a big difference in our industry. A lot more people are starting to use the same type of security. It's a 3-vector scan on every file that comes across. So that's one tool that we wanted to make you guys aware of. The next tool is called a SIEM. It's a log management system. Everything you need and nothing you don't. So basically, it looks at every single log file generated on a machine. A computer, a small network, 10 machines or less, generates 250,000 log files a day. 250,000 log files. In other words, every click, every mouse movement, everything happens through and gets a log generated against. But because it's so many, if something went wrong, for us to go through the log and try to figure out what happened, or if we're able to monitor the logs as they get produced, we're able to stop issues before they happen. So because of that is why we implemented a SIEM for some of our clients. And a SIEM is truly a log management system, and I'm going to show you guys a demo on that one real quick.
SIEM simplified. Security information and event management made easy. What is it? Event Tracker's SIEM expertise delivered as a managed service. The goal is to help you augment current IT and security staff while lowering employee overhead, demonstrate compliance with any regulatory standard that you may be subject to for audit purposes, as well as any security requirements, improve security incident investigation and anomaly detection capability, enable a 360-degree view of your IT assets and activity, but most of all, relax, because we've got you covered. Here's how it works. Event Tracker software is installed and configured to monitor your network. Installation can be on-premises or in the cloud. The Event Tracker Control Center in Columbia, Maryland gets access to this Event Tracker installation remotely via VPN or LogMeIn. Our staff neither requires nor gets access to any other IT assets within your network. Once installed and configured, Event Tracker receives audit logs, configuration changes, and change data from all monitored IT assets. Your IT staff has full access to all of the information and can do as much or as little as they prefer. They can access alerts, reports, dashboards, and all of the search functionality within Event Tracker. Our staff at the Control Center keeps Event Tracker running smoothly for you, taking care of all adds, mods, changes, additional configuration, commissioning or decommissioning of log sources, etc. We provide incident analysis, log report review, and annotate findings with remediation recommendations based on...
I've stopped it for a second just to explain to you that we use Event Tracker. This is the SIEM that we decided to use. We've done some investigation and looked at all different types of SIEMs available out there. Event Tracker is the best one we could find. They also provide the first level of support, and they have a full SOC that's open 24 hours a day, seven days a week. Our staff make sure everything is running smoothly and make sure that the logs are being looked at by Event Tracker. Event Tracker then gives us, out of the 250,000 logs they received, if there is one or two malicious ones, they let us know about them, and we investigate those further. And we find out what's happening with those.
On a defined alert response procedure, we update your staff as and when necessary. Once again, this means you can do as much or as little as you prefer. Of course, you have access to all of the data. It is usually on your premises, and the Control Center is accessing it remotely. The result is an end-to-end closed-loop system where all of the log, change, and audit data has been reviewed. Findings and recommendations are available for review, including the remediation steps. This allows an auditor or security officer to get summary reports and be satisfied that all necessary steps have been taken. Our Control Center staff can provide audit support as needed. SIEM simplified.
Go back to our presentation. So that's the idea here, everybody. The idea is to be as proactive as possible, to have the right tools in place, and to be able to go after and not be the low-hanging fruit. So what do you do if you get hacked? Number one, if you know which machine got hacked, disconnect the infected machine from the network. That way it doesn't infect other machines. Shut down that computer, contact the MVP or your IT provider, and send out notifications excuse me, to everyone in the organization, letting them know to be on the lookout for a malicious email you may have received, or a click or something that you clicked on that may be an issue. So let everybody make everybody aware. So now that we talked about this and what we've done to get here, what are the next steps? Number one, we talked about just preliminary vulnerability assessment. You need an audit done. Make sure you have that done. Know where you stand. I'm not talking about a network audit. I'm talking about a cybersecurity audit, a vulnerability assessment. Then with that assessment, you'll be able to create an action plan analysis, and then you'll need to be able to have your CIO or VCIO solution provider give you a strategy session on what to do next, and then go through that action plan and make sure that you don't have any of those vulnerabilities, and then train your employees, really. So that's what the steps that need to happen. So all next steps are free. We will do the first 3 steps for you. So we will, because you joined us today, thank you for taking the time. As an attendee of our webinar, you can receive at no cost to you a vulnerability assessment. We'll come to your office. We'll review your business currently, how it uses technology. We'll perform a detailed vulnerability assessment and provide you with a detailed report and an action plan. Even if you're one of our clients, remember that this is a new solution for us, so we are providing you with strong basic security. However, if you would like to make sure that there is anything deeper that you may need, have us come in and do a vulnerability assessment on your network. That way you know what you have and you know what needs to be done, and we can create a plan of attack for you. So having said that, that's basically towards the end of our presentation. I will open it up a little bit for any questions, so everybody will be unmuted. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, so I got a question that came in. The question says, is this above and beyond MVP total protection? Yes, it is. Now, if you have total protection gold, some of those tools we have included it within gold, and your account manager is going to call you on it. However, not all the solutions and the tools that we found will be included in total protection. There'll be total protection plus total secure. But some of the tools, if you have gold with total protection, will have some of those new tools included in that offering. We're trying to simplify the offering because so many more new applications are needed to run a network properly and to secure you properly. So we're doing it that way. I hope that's okay. I'm glad this answered your questions. Any other questions? So yeah, do you need a server to load all these tools? No, these are we do need a server, but they're hosted here in our data center. So you do not need a lot of the tools that we showed you. Actually, all of them do not need an infrastructure on your end to be able to use them. These are cloud-enabled tools, software as a service tools. So you do not need any additional hardware for that. Okay. Good question, though. I appreciate it. Any other questions from anybody? Okay, well, if you do have any questions, feel free to contact me at any time. Let me put my contact information back out there. So bear with me here. Okay, here's my contact info. Feel free to contact me. I hear people bouncing out. I hope this was beneficial for everybody. Explain what this is all about. We'll have the account managers reach out to everybody as well, and we'll sit down with everybody and make that offer. For everybody that just joined today, that offer will be at no charge to you. Thank you very much for your time. This will be recorded and ready. At the end of the day, what we want to do is truly save Western New York one network at a time. Because, you know, enough is enough with this, with the hackers getting the best of us. It's time to be more proactive and stop them in their tracks. Thanks for the time, everybody. Have a great day. And I'm going to stay on just in case any other question comes on. But have a great day, and I'll remove. Oh, I have one more question that came in. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. That's all it said. So thank you, and thanks, everybody. I hope you had a great time, and I'm going to disconnect now. Thank you. Have a good day, everybody.